Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about some new information that was announced at Paizocon this last weekend. While I wasn't able to go to Paizocon myself, sadly, I was able to catch a fair amount of it live, and boy am I excited for everything that Paizo is going to be putting out in the next year. Without further ado, let's get into talking about the Treasure Vault, the next mainline rulebook for Pathfinder 2e that is scheduled to come out in February of 2023. Alright then, what is even in the Treasure Vault? Well, it's obviously going to be a book all about treasure, loot, and weapons, on top of a whole bunch of new options, specifically for alchemists and all characters who actually like to make things with a crafting skill. It's broken up into 6 different chapters, which you can see, but we're about to go over them, so let's just get into it. Chapter 1 is about bog standard items like brand new weapons, weapon traits, armor, and armor traits. You know, all the boring stuff. I joke, of course, as more weapons and armor opens up the possibility to a lot of new cool character concepts and cool enemies to loot. We don't know all that many exact examples of things that are going to be in this section, but we do know that they're going to be bringing over a lot of options from Pathfinder 1e into Pathfinder 2e, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. Specifically, we know that the Earthbreaker and Kalar are almost certainly going to be included in this next book. And in case you didn't know, the Kalar is basically what you get if you strap a skull to your arm like a shield, and then you have a short sword sticking out of its mouth. It's really, really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. Chapter 2 is probably one of the chapters that people are going to be the most interested in, as it is called Alchemy Unleashed. Apparently there's going to be over 100 new alchemical items, though they vary drastically in what their scope is. There are going to be some lozenges in case you get something in your throat, or there are going to be flamethrowers that are there for all of your war crime wanting needs. Also, they are apparently going to be adding a bunch of new feats as an errata to the core rulebook to help get the alchemist to be exactly where Paizo wants it to be. I know that the alchemist is not exactly what a lot of people are looking for in the class, and hopefully these feats and all of these new items should help the alchemist perform exactly as both the developers and the players are looking for it to be. Plus, just having an alchemical flamethrower is super cool, and please Paizo, don't restrict it to just fire. There are all kinds of alchemical bombs to use as fuel for that thing. Chapter 3 of the Treasure Vault is called Momentary Magic, and it is all about temporary magical items that are gone once you use them, like potions and oil. But really, Paizo never stops with just that. There are going to be spell guns that cast a spell whenever you pull a trigger, since obviously in a world with magic, people who don't know how to cast magic are still going to want to be able to, shoot lightning at people, and spell guns are exactly there for them. There are going to be more Fulus and also missives, and missives specifically are fun because they're the most passive-aggressive piece of gear that I've ever seen, because it seems like you'll be able to use a missive whenever you cast a spell to add a message to a spell. So if you want to cast a fireball on someone and have that fireball say dodge, you can absolutely do that, and that is hilarious. The next chapter after that is called Trappings of Magic, and this is where all of the permanent and semi-permanent magical gear is going to be. I say semi-permanent because some magical gear you can just use once a day, but it's not just gone. This is where all of your wands, your runes, all of that fun stuff is going to be. Specifically though, the most interesting gear that was described is that apparently every class that uses focus points is going to have some kind of gear in this book that interacts with their focus pool. The Druid already has this with the Druid vestments, and they took that idea and decided, why do only Druids have access to some gear like this? So I'm really excited to see exactly how that is going to work, and focus points are super cool, and I love to see more gear that interacts with them. Chapter 5 is another interesting chapter that I'm certain people are going to be incredibly excited for, because who doesn't want to know about the secrets of crafting? As you can guess from the name, this entire chapter is going to be dedicated to the crafting skill and the actual making of things, rather than just, the buying of them like the rest of the book. There's going to be variant rules for crafting, there's going to be character options for crafting, and these options are going to vary drastically in scope and in detail because, honestly speaking, what people use crafting for varies drastically. Sometimes you just want to craft 10 arrows overnight, which you cannot do under the current crafting rules, but you can in this book. And sometimes you want to craft a level 20, like, insanely powerful sword, and sometimes you don't have access to a shop to just go and buy all the materials you'll need, or to just straight up buy the sword, because those materials are probably going to be worth more than the entire town, because Pathfinder 2e's gold scaling is kind of nuts like that. So there are going to be rules to actually allow you to craft that sort of weapon in a reasonable time frame, and for the GMs out there who really like the spectacle of things, there are also going to be rules to turn crafting into more of an adventure. So yeah, are you really making a level 20 flaming sword if you're not making it in the heart of a volcano? Ask yourself that question, and the Secrets of Magic is going to have rules for doing stuff like that. Chapter 6 is the GMs Toolbox. It has tables for all of the new items and weird options for the GM to include into games. This will make GM prep a lot easier, since randomly generating what gear is in a shop is a lot easier than having to go through and do it manually. But I'm really interested in the weird rules, because a lot of them deal with artifacts. Because everyone knows that GMs love giving their party incredibly powerful artifacts just to see how much chaos they can cause by using them incorrectly. Particularly, there are going to be some rules for Shalin's Glaive, which is the Whisper of Souls, which is literally an apocalypse in the making, but Shalin's trying to fix that, and Kalian's Mug, which is the fastest trip to alcoholism I can possibly imagine. Finally, there are going to be rules for what happens whenever a special type of artifact corrupts, or corrupt maybe not isn't the right word, but changes a character fundamentally. This has a lot of options for that dark and evil artifact to twist someone beyond their recognition of who they once were. But it also is there in case you want to play a one-piece campaign, and these can just serve as devil fruits. I'm just gonna throw that out there. In case you can't tell from this channel, I'm a bit of a Pathfinder nerd, and this book is probably the best example of what I mean by that. I am unreasonably excited to look through lists upon lists of weapons and magical items. Although, outside of all of the actual gear in this book, the thing that I'm most looking forward to is seeing what Paizo does with the changes to alchemical items in the Alchemist and the crafting skill. I personally haven't played an Alchemist, or any character actually that uses the crafting skill heavily, but I have played in groups with people who are playing Alchemists or use crafting, and they have definitely been a bit let down by the current systems in place. So I hope that Paizo can really take the treasure vault to address some of those concerns. I've got faith in Paizo that they'll do a pretty good job though. Thanks for watching. This weekend has been a bit of an experience since so much stuff has been announced, but I'm going to try and not stretch out everything that was announced at Paizocon into like 10 different videos, because I hate it when people do that, so I'm not gonna do it. A bunch of cool stuff did get announced though, so I'm really looking forward to talking about it. How excited for the treasure vault are you? What about the really cool other stuff that was announced or revealed at Paizocon? Regardless, happy Pride Month, and until I see you next, live a wonderful life.